time for politics, pop culture, and proud pro-American conservatism. Strap yourselves in. Grab your coffee. It's time for the Chris Salcedo Show on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
What'd I tell you? What did I tell you? When the rumors were being floated about the XFL coming back, and I was, by many of my friends who are actually sportscasters or who do sports for a living, not Russell, but others in the industry said I was dreaming about the XFL. It was a pipe dream. You just, Chris, your politics overriding your good business sense. There's no way the XFL is going to work. It's been tried and it failed. And I said, yes, but times are different. When was the XFL with us last? Was it about 15, 20 years ago, right? When they tried
17 years ago.
17 years ago. Now, at the time, the National Football League was actually a pro-American league. At the time, it was patriotic. It was mom and apple pie, right? Well, it's not the National Football League isn't that anymore. By the way, there is a story out of, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. They finally have a dollar figure of lost ad revenue because of the anti-American reprobate players. I am scrolling down to try to find it right now. By the way, folks, we are going to be speaking about Donald Trump's, the White House offer to give citizenship, to pave the way for citizenship for 1.8 million DACA recipients. Now, a lot of people on our side are losing their minds over this, and I've got to tell you, we will evaluate the plan itself, and then I'm going to tell you what's really going on. There is if you guys want to go to the Facebook page, you guys want to have fun, there is some guy, Russell, you're going to love this. There is some guy who says that he knew I was going to betray everybody, me, that I'm soft, that I am working to grant citizenship to illegals, me. And I said, man, I don't know where you get this from, but I'm making, as far as I'm concerned, even if it was the 1.8 billion DACA folks who I've already invested my taxpayer money to educate these people, even if it's just that, and I still think that number is way too high. But if it's that, and I get my wall, I get an end to chain migration, and I get an end to the lottery system, in essence, an end to illegal immigration, mass illegal immigration, I'm all for it. It's a small price to pay. And, oh, by the way, no citizenship for the other 23 million illegals, ever. Unless they want to leave the country and come back in and get in line. So I'll go over what I think Trump is doing coming up. Here's this piece. Wall Street Journal writing, ad revenue dipped 1.2% as lower ratings more than offset higher prices. So the ads in the National Football League, NFL knew they were losing audience. So what do? They cranked up the cost of their ads to offset, and they couldn't crank up the prices fast enough that people were leaving the National Football League. It cost $2.42 billion in loss. This is what anti-Americanism gets you, a loss of $2.42 billion. The NFL is vulnerable. And again, they're not the victims here. They made themselves this way. So when I heard Vince McMahon was going to launch the XFL in 2020, let me tell you, I didn't even need to watch his video before I said, I'm in. I'm in. Now let's break down what Vince McMahon wants to do. Here he was announcing this yesterday.
The new XFL will kick off in 2020. And quite frankly, we're going to give the game of football back to fans.
Back to fans. That was a not so subtle swipe at Roger Goodell, who basically runs the National Football League as some sort of left-wing kook farm who says, fans, who cares what the fans have to say? I want left-wing kooks to be placated. I want left-wing kooks. So I'm going to let my players trash the flag and the anthem and destroy our brand. That's Roger Goodell. And they're paying him millions of dollars and lifetime of medical benefits and a private jet to do this.
I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions for me, but I also have a lot of questions for you. In fact, we're going to ask a lot of questions and listen to players, coaches. We're going to listen to medical experts, technology executives, members of the media, and anyone else who understands and loves the game of football.
That's me. I'm in there somewhere. I'm a member of the media. I'm a big fan of football. I can't stand the National Football League, but I'm a big fan of football. So the fact that you understand how he's positioning himself. He's saying, I'm going to listen to football fans without saying, I'm going to listen to all of you football fans out there who are tired of the anti-American protests of the National Football League and a football league that tolerates it.
But most importantly, we're going to be listening to fans. Yay. So I'd ask that, the question of what would you do if you could reimagine the game of professional football? Would you?
Yeah. Rule number one, this is a pro-American football league. You will not in any way besmirch the flag, the anthem, or the country while you're in uniform and on the field. Whatever you do on your own time is your business. But when you are under our employ, in our facilities, on our field, during game time, you will conduct yourself in a manner that is appropriate with our standards. And if you don't, get your butt off the field. You're fired. Any other business would do that, unless you're the NFL. The NFL says, hey, we understand you hate America. Hey, many of us in the NFL hate America. Come on and hate America. Let's just put it out there. Excuse me, Mr. Goodell, can we put a decal on our helmets honoring 5 fallen police officers in Dallas? No, you can't do that. That's too damn patriotic. That's political. That's political. You can't be political. Excuse me, Mr. Goodell, we want to trash America. We want to trash the flag. Oh, yes, that's okay. We respect our players. You see the difference? That's Roger Goodell, ladies and gentlemen, and the anti-American NFL.
You, for instance, eliminate halftime? Would you have fewer commercial breaks? Would the game of football be faster? Would the rules be simpler? The new XFL will be fan-centric with all the things you like to see and less of the things you don't. And no doubt, a lot of innovations along the way. We will present a shorter, faster-paced, family-friendly, and easier-to-understand game. Don't get me wrong, it's still football, but it's professional football reimagined. Since we're launching in 2020, we have 2 years, which is plenty of time to really get it right. We intend to start conservatively with 8 teams, 40-man rosters, a 10-game regular season, and postseason featuring 2 semifinals, and of course, a championship game.
Sweet. So I know Russell talked about this in the press box, and I'll basically tee up the same question he had. Are you in? I'm in. I'm in. From what I heard from Vince McMahon, I'm in. And again, this is the caveat, because he's going to get the question. Yes, we have put in a request for him to come onto the program and explain what the XFL is going to be about, with the caveat that the reason why so many are leaving the National Football League, their anti-American stance. Will that be addressed in the XFL? Folks, imagine this. Professional football that doesn't trash the United States of America. Can you imagine? 281-558-5738. 281-558-KSEV. Are you in? Are you in for the XFL? Now look, a franchise is most likely going to be in Texas. Well, we've got a couple of well-established brands here in the anti-American football league. The Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. If a team shows up in Texas, what happens to whatever brand loyalty you have left for the anti-American football league teams? Russell, what do you think? What do you think about the XFL? Are you, as the station's not only programming guru but also the sports director, what do you think?
I'm intrigued because the timing of this is perfect. Because of the disdain that a lot of fans, including yourself, that have for the National Football League. This might actually work if Vince McMahon does it the right way.
And I think he wants to. You just heard in the soundbite there, he wants to.
And I believe that. And McMahon is not a guy that makes mistakes twice very often, as you can see by the success of his company in World Wrestling Entertainment. The fact that I think one of the biggest things I think he's done this time to correct the first mistake that he made the first go-round was this new XFL will be completely separate from WWE.
Yeah.
So you won't have any of that crossover. You won't have Jim Ross in the broadcast booth trying to, announce football games, and some of that sideshow stuff that's going on. This is going to be about football. So I think he's got it going, at least all indications from the get-go, that he wants to make it right.
Now, when the XFL came into being 17 years ago, I didn't pay it any attention. You know why? Because I was happy with the NFL. And I think Vince McMahon, if he made a mistake, it may have been in the packaging, it may have been in everything that you just mentioned, but he was also going up against, at the time, a ratings juggernaut. It was, even back then, America's favorite pastime. It was everything that you and I have been lamenting that the NFL has devolved into over the last 3 years. And Vince McMahon, having learned from those mistakes, you got to ask yourself, why now? What has changed in the marketplace now? And for all of you folks out there who said, oh, this NFL protest, it isn't causing any problem. Oh, that's not the reason why the ratings are down. Oh, making all kinds of excuses for these reprobate players. The fact of the matter is, somebody who has a lot of money and who's a good businessman, he sees an opportunity. And it's because of the plummeting popularity, a league in decline, as the Mavericks' Mark Cuban put it. He sees an opportunity to gain market share. And trust me, if Vince McMahon markets his football league as the Pro-American Football League, and all it's going to take is one 30-second ad with this theme. We honor the United States of America. Always in the XFL. Always. Not just on camo shirt day or jersey day at the park. Not just on Veterans Day. Every day. We, meaning the XFL, we have standards. That other league, the anti-American league, does not. So the question out to all of you is 281-558-5738. Are you on board? 281-558-KSEV. Do you like the idea of the XFL? Andy, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. I'm glad you made it.
Hey, good morning. Here's the deal. If you're going to go against a business that there's only one in town, that being the NFL, you have to look at it and say, what's its problems so I don't do that?
Yeah.
And the one thing about honoring America, the one thing about if you mess up, you're out, if you arrested or anything like that. People may laugh at that, but guess what? You're not getting hired because people are looking into your background, and if they see that stuff, 99% of those people don't get hired anyway for a job. So I don't know why people might be griping about that. But
well, you as a fan, I mean, all of this stuff that the NFL is allowed to go on in the name of making a buck. It rubs the fans the wrong way. The NFL has basically said, to heck with you, the fans. We don't care what you think. We're going to do it our way. And where else are you going to go? There's no other professional football league out there. Well, guess what? Now we have an answer. Oh, well, if that's the way you want to conduct yourself, anti-American NFL, then we're gonna go to the XFL, where we don't get a big heaping snoot full of left-wing politics.
Yeah, and here's another thing, Chris. I wish I could bend his ear.
Well, no, he's going to be taking public comment for the next 2 years, and we're going to try desperately to get him onto the program.
Well, look, you know what time you play the games? You play the games Saturday night. You know why?
Why?
Because I go to my local neighborhood pub, right?
Yeah.
And I hate it that football is almost over with. I hate basketball.
Well,
baseball takes forever to play. There's too many games. I told my wife the other day, we were in there having a beer, having a burger, and I said, there's almost no more football.
well, wait a minute, Andy. You bring up a good point. See, what I would do is I would find out where the NFL is most vulnerable, where they're seeing the greatest decline in ratings. Sunday Night Football has seen a massive decrease because the fact that it's NBC and they're perceived as left wing anyway, the entire company. There's that, and also Monday Night Football. I think that there is a good case for Sunday night and Monday Night Football for XFL games, basically attacking where the NFL is weakest.
Well, look here, and here's another thing: the pay scale. Let me tell you something. You want to make it right? Certain starters at certain positions make certain money.
Well, I don't care. Look, I got to tell you, Andy, I don't care how much a pro ball player is making, but what I do care about is how much it'll cost me to go take in a pro game. If I've got, right now you got to spend $500, $600 to go watch the NFL trash America, right? So if I gotta go pay maybe $200 for my family to get an XFL ticket to go watch the good game of football and watch them praise America, that's a great business model. NFL loses my $600, XFL gains my $200 and gains audience. Andy, great call, man. Thank you. Happy Friday. It's Chris Salcedo's show. More on this, the other side of the break, on the Voice of Texas. Chris Salcedo's show. Slight correction, folks. I want to make sure we get all the facts out there to you. The ad revenue was indeed off by 1.2% for the National Football League this year, but it didn't drop by $2.42 billion. That was what it dropped to. So I misread this Wall Street Journal piece. Advertising revenue from in-game NFL programming declined 1.2% to $2.42 billion. That's how much they made on the year, which is 1.2% less than they made last year. And that is despite some pretty large increases in their cost for their spots. And you know what? They did that in response to advertisers saying, "Hey, you're dropping in ratings." Well, the arrogance of the NFL and having no competition. They raised their prices significantly, even though, according to the Wall Street Journal here, ratings were down 9.7% cumulatively, almost, let's just call it 10% year to year. So ratings dropped by 10%, but they increased their prices in some cases pretty hugely. Let me see if they have a chart on here somewhere that I had seen for advertisers. Skimming, I should say. Skimming. It was significant increases across the board for their ad revenue. I mean, from the alcohol ads to the automobile ads. Price of a 30-second spot increased 1.2% from $499,000 to $505,000. At the same time, the delivery of make goods grew from 21% to 23%, meaning advertisers they missed. Where is that other chart that they had listed? I can't find it. Long story short, they increased their prices while their ratings were falling to make up for the falling ratings. It's the arrogance of left-wingers, I would say. And of course, they believe this is a flash in the pan, folks. They believe that you're going to tune in next year. You're going to forget all about this stuff, even though the NFL players are going to continue to do it because there's no there's no workplace standard to prevent them from doing it. Now, there are workplace standards in the NFL to keep them from having veterans groups advertise standing for the anthem. There are standards in the NFL that prevent them from honoring fallen police officers. But there are no standards to prevent players from bashing the anthem, the flag, and the country. So there you go. And that's why so many people, well, I believe next year you're going to see a further decline. And now the excitement building around the XFL. I truly believe the XFL will be able to capitalize. And whereas they were going up against a juggernaut that everybody loved 17 years ago, the XFL now has a fractured NFL base that didn't even tune in to an XFL game the last time, that is going to not only, some of them will tune in, others will enthusiastically tune in and support it to make sure it doesn't go away, to make sure they send a clear message to the NFL. Oh, you take we fans for granted? Great. See ya. Bye. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Coming up, we'll talk about Trump's immigration proposal. All right, welcome back. Hour 2, folks. The Chris Salcedo Show is underway. Look, I didn't want to give Tim short shrift. And by the way, there's two things going on. We're going to let Tim finish up what he was saying about Dan Huberty. And the President of the United States is over in Davos, Switzerland, is about ready to make a speech, and we'll take it live here on the Chris Salcedo Show. Meantime, Tim, look, I really am, I'm sympathetic to your anger because, I mean, Dan Huberty, it has been such a thorn in conservative side, and he proudly espouses it. He left us at the mercy of out-of-control property taxes. He told parents who want to have a choice in how to best educate their children, basically, screw you. I don't care what you people think. He has special interests to placate. But what got me, Tim, what really got me is when our fellow Texans were dying in the streets because of Hurricane Harvey, this reprobate, this small man, Dan Huberty, was demanding of 3 county commissioners county resources to pick up his trash.
I totally agree with you on every point. But until we do something in the districts that these people represent, we're going to continue to have to fight this guy. And my argument is, what are you doing in the 127 district? That's my shout out. I'll walk your streets. I'll come to your Tea Party meetings. I'll ask you the same question. If you believe that school choice is not a conservative value, then you go ahead and align yourself with Dan Huberty. But if you do believe it is a conservative value, then why in the heck is this guy representing you?
Well, I couldn't agree more. And Reginald Grant, even though for now a judge has said he will not be able to represent the 127th, I believe that's on appeal. And if we vote for Reginald Grant, a name of integrity, a Marine, a conservative, a black conservative Marine who laid his life on the line for Texans and for Americans, literally, as Dan Huberty saw his fellow Texans dying in the streets of Houston, and all they can think of is his trash removal. I think if we vote for Reginald Grant, that will send a clear message to the other fake conservatives, fake GOPers. Hey, thanks, Tim. I got to get to the president. Thanks very much. President Trump, folks, Davos, Switzerland.
Privileged to be here at this forum where leaders in business, science, art, diplomacy, and world affairs have gathered for many, many years to discuss how we can advance prosperity, security, and peace. I'm here today to represent the interests of the American people and to affirm America's friendship and partnership in building a better world.
Now, if this would have been Barack Obama, let me be clear. I'm here because I think America sucks, and I think we've taken advantage of all of you for far too long. And let me be clear, I'm going to give a whole bunch of Americans hard-earned taxpayer money to you, and you don't even have to earn it. Let me be clear. He had already been trashing America. But Donald Trump, the president of the United States, says, you know what? I'm here to represent America, our best interests.
Dig up forgotten communities, creating exciting new opportunities, and helping every American find their path to the American dream, the dream of a great job, a safe home, and a better life for their children. After years of stagnation, the United States is once again experiencing strong economic growth. The stock market is smashing one record after another and has added more than $7 trillion in new wealth since my election. Consumer confidence, business confidence, and manufacturing confidence are the highest they have been in many decades. Since my election, we've created 2.4 million jobs, and that number is going up very, very substantially. Small business optimism is at an all-time high. New unemployment claims.
Why is he doing this? Why is he laying out his one-year track record that 1 year eclipses everything Barack Obama did in 8 years? Why is he doing this? A lot of those people over in Davos, these elitists, they have a lot of money invested in the United States, and they are thrilled that there is a pro-American, pro-prosperity president back in making their money grow, these elitist leftists from all over the globe.
Simple message. There has never been a better time to hire, to build, to invest, and to grow in the United States. America is open for business, and we are competitive once again.
Amen to that.
The American economy is by far the largest in the world, and we've just enacted the most significant tax cuts and reform in American history. We've massively cut taxes for the middle class and small businesses to let working families keep more of their hard-earned money.
Did you guys know on that the Democrats are saying, oh, it's just $1,000 more in their pocket. Oh, it's just this. It's crumbs that Nancy Pelosi said. Do you know these same Democrats were celebrating a $40 savings for you and Obamacare? By the way, the $40 never materialized. They rather, yay, $40 under Obamacare. Here's Donald Trump, $1,000 or more for many families.
$1,000. The world's largest company, Apple, announced it plans to bring $245 billion in overseas profits home to America. Their total investment into the United States economy will be more than $350 billion over the next 5 years. Now is the perfect time to bring your business, your jobs, and your investments to the United States. This is especially true because we have undertaken the most extensive regulatory reduction ever conceived. Regulation is stealth taxation. The U.S., like many other countries.
Oh, liberals are wetting themselves right now. Oh no, he's taking away our power. No, it's like the witch in the Wizard of Oz. I'm melting. Excessive regulation is like stealth taxation. That's a pretty good line.
Over. I pledged to eliminate 2 unnecessary regulations for every 1 new regulation. We have succeeded beyond our highest expectations. Instead of 2 for 1, we have cut 22 burdensome regulations for every 1 new rule. We are freeing our businesses and workers so they can thrive and flourish as never before. We are creating an environment that attracts capital, invites investment, and rewards production. America is the place to do business. So come to America where you can innovate, create, and build.
Because Barack Obama is gone.
As President of the United States, I will always put America first, just like the leaders of other countries should put their country first also. But America first does not mean America alone. When the United States grows, so does the world.
Do you guys remember, on that point, do you guys remember when the United States of America, when our economy was roaring, we could drive GDP around the entire globe? President Obama castrated America's economic prowess. But it wasn't just him. It was happening before him, but he took it, of course, to an exponentially higher level. And now all of a sudden, the economic engine that is America is now once again starting to drive global GDP. And a lot of people are going, man, secret. I may not like how boorish Donald Trump is, but I sure like his economic results.
We cannot have free and open trade if some countries exploit the system at the expense of others. We support free trade, but it needs to be fair and it needs to be reciprocal, because in the end, unfair trade undermines us all. The United States will no longer turn a blind eye to unfair economic practices, including massive intellectual property theft, industrial subsidies, and pervasive state-led economic planning. These and other predatory behaviors are distorting the global markets and harming businesses and workers, not just in the U.S., but around the globe. Wow. Just like we expect the leaders of other countries to protect their interests, as President of the United States, I will always protect the interests of our country, our companies, and our workers. We will enforce our trade laws and restore integrity to our trading system.
Isn't it amazing that an American president has to stand up there and say, yeah, hello, folks, as the American president, I'm supposed to look out for America? Because the world has been conditioned for the last 8 years that the previous occupier of the Oval Office said his job was to trash America and to knock America down, to make America just another country, to make America nothing special, to make America second or third world so that nobody would hate us. President Obama thought it was his job to make us one of many nations and nothing particularly exciting. And he thought to diminish our economic power, our military power, in order to do that. And now Donald Trump has to get up there and state something that most common sense folks have always thought to be rather elementary. The American president should be up there on behalf of the American people. And for the last 8 years, the world has seen the occupier of the Oval Office and President Obama not advocating for the American people, advocating for everybody else. Back in a minute, the Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas.
And other DACA-eligible immigrants, up to an estimated 1.8 million people. Protect the nuclear family, promote nuclear family migration, limiting family sponsorships to spouses and minor children, and eliminate the lottery and repurpose visas. White House officials suggest the program is riddled with fraud and abuse and does not serve the national interest. The White House starting to roll out its proposal as lawmakers here on Capitol Hill are trying to develop their own plan.
And what the Congress is developing is really a throwaway, because most of them up there agree in continued illegal immigration and pulling the wool over the American people's eyes. Now let's deal with what Donald Trump had proposed. He wants to not only give legalization to not 800,000 DACA recipients, but 1.8 million DACA recipients. I don't know where the heck that number came from, but that's what he's proposing. I know why he's done this, but we're going to go with it at face value, okay? He then in turn wants an end to chain migration, where every person who gets in can bring grandma, can bring a great grandma, can bring second and third cousins. That goes away. It's only nuclear family. It's mom, dad, and the kids, if one gets in. And that's not instantaneous. It's just it opens the door only for that segment. And then it ends the lottery system, which leads to radicalized Islamic fundamentalist terrorists mowing down our citizens in the streets. In exchange for citizenship for these DACA recipients after a 12-year waiting period. Okay, that's what Donald Trump has put out, the framework. There's nothing in writing yet. So here's, at first blush, my question. Number one, why do we go from 800,000 to 1.8 million? I want to know why. And I do know why, but I'm just going to throw that out there at first blush. Also, I want to know what order this all takes place in. If I can get the end of the lottery system, end of chain migration, and the wall built before the clock starts running on the DACA folks, then maybe I could be persuaded. But I want the security first. I want an end to the threats to America first. I want an end to illegal immigration first. Then we will start the clock on these DACA recipients. And I'm not sold on the 1.8 million number. And here's what I think Donald Trump is doing. He knows one thing. The Democrats don't want to solve this issue. Every one of you Democrats who are listening to me, don't think I don't know that you don't want to solve this issue. That what you want is all of these DACA recipients and all illegals in this country to get citizenship, and you want to continue illegal immigration. That's what you want. We all know it. That's what you advocate. The Democrats, politically speaking, they have been rather successful at tarring Donald Trump, at least among their base, as a racist because he wants to secure the southern border and the northern border for that matter. So what he knows is that these Democrats are never going to agree to give him a victory on anything. So he comes up with a rather generous 1.8 million. And he says, you know what, not just legalization, which is what I kind of favor for the broad illegal alien community. Never citizenship, never the vote, unless they want to leave this country, get in line, and come in the right way. Never the vote. Never citizenship. American citizenship is too valuable. But the DACA recipients, those who were brought here didn't make the decision. They were too young. They couldn't say, no, mommy, daddy, I don't want to leave the hellhole I'm in. Don't take me to America. They couldn't do that. They couldn't stop mommy and daddy from breaking the law. Now that they're here, and now that some idiot judge said that you and I had to pay for their education, that's the only group I'm even willing to entertain becoming citizens. Because for the most part, they've been educated in our schools. They know our culture. Other than having the official status, they're Americans. They speak the language, which is what a big bugaboo of many of us in the conservative movement. We don't like having the expense of printing up forms in 75 million different languages. So that's the only group I'm even interested in considering. All the rest of the illegals, I couldn't. No, never citizenship. Never. And if I can get the wall, chain migration gone, and the lottery gone, in exchange, I'm not sold on 1.8 million, folks. I think that number is rather high. Less than that, and then a 12 to 15 year, and I'm kind of leaning toward 15 myself, 15-year waiting period for citizenship. I could go for that. I could go for that. And then as long as it only applied to DACA, I don't want to hear any talk of the rest of the 23 million illegal aliens or more in this country. I don't want to hear any talk. We'll solve that once we have the border security fully, solidly in place. What do you guys think? 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV here on the Chris Salcedo Show. Willie, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you made it.
Hey, happy Friday. You know, Chris, I'm going to tell you where that number come from. This was all the reason lately. It's a difference between Dreamers and DACA. They tied them all together. That's where that number jumped at. Remember that guy got deported, and he was on TV. They showed him crying, family crying, and they deported him. He was also brought over here as a child, but he didn't qualify as a DACA recipient. He's a dreamer.
Well, DACA stands for Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals. That's what it stands for. So the dreamers are supposed to be these.
But you got to qualify for DACA, though.
Yeah.
See, that guy didn't qualify. You know the guy I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, this guy was he Detroit? Was he from Detroit? Is that where he was?
Right, and he was brought over here at 10 years old too.
Yeah,
but he wasn't a DACA recipient. That's why that number jumped. Let me put another spin on it. If we sit down and have a rational conversation about our immigration system and without putting emotions into it, you got to blame our lawmakers. If you really want to be honest.
Oh, I agree.
They let this go on. This is a mess, Chris. This mess is so big, it's ridiculous. You got people that had kids. You got people that have been brought over here. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on. What you do with these people, man? I'm going to tell you what we need to do, Chris. Any lawmaker, I want all these callers to listen to me now. Because, Chris, if we ran business, these will be professional politicians. If they ran a policy like this, they need to be fired, man. If you've been in Washington 3 years or more and watched this happen, Chris, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, I don't care if you're a liberal or conservative. If you sit back and let this happen for all these years, Chris, you need to be fired, man.
Give me a time frame that you think this has all been going on. How many years do you think this has been going on?
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about myself. You know, I got a lot of criticism last week of how I called in. I've been watching politics, Chris, believe it or not, since I was 16 years old.
I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about how long do you think that, and you're absolutely right, all of this lays squarely at the feet of every elected official. How up there on Capitol Hill, because it is the federal government's exclusive purview to secure these borders and to prevent illegal immigration, to stop it. How many years do you think that they have allowed this to go unchecked?
And I'm going to tell you the reason I started like I did. I'm going to go all the way back to, I can go past Reagan. I started voting around Reagan. That's when I was coming out of high school. That's why I'm going all the way back. But Reagan gave him amnesty. It should have been shut down under the Reagan administration when he first gave him amnesty, man.
Did you know that one of Reagan's biggest regrets, and he wrote about this in his memoirs, was trusting Congress, that he signed the amnesty on the promise that would be the last time, and then Congress just decided not to fund it. It's been going on for the better part of a half century, Willie, that the John McCains and the Bob Corkers and the Chuck Toomer's and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Harry Reids, they've been betraying America for about a half century on this to pay off liberals who want a permanent underclass and to pay off crony capitalists in the Chamber of Commerce who want cheap labor. And that's it. What the rest of America wants, they don't care. The adherence to the rule of law, they don't care. Folks, we're going to the White House. Coming up next on the Chris Salcedo Show, Deputy Press Secretary from the White House will be here to talk about the president in Davos and also this latest plan being rolled out by the president. I'll ask about what I think is the political angle. I probably won't get a straight answer, but we'll ask. It's Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas. Go to the White House, folks, and we welcome Hogan Gidley. He is the Deputy Press Secretary at the Trump White House. Hogan was born in Arkansas, graduated from the University of Mississippi with a degree in broadcast journalism and a minor in political science. Hogan, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Even more so, Chris, and I appreciate the time. I also lived in Tyler, Texas for a couple of years, was a escort in the Rose Festival, and have family all over the state of Texas.
Attaboy. Well, you know what? This is the place to be for economic prosperity and freedom in the great state of Texas. Let me ask you about the president. Speaking of economic freedom, he's over in Davos, and the press narrative going in was that all of these European socialists would just berate and bash Donald Trump, And it turns out he was welcomed with open arms, warmly received. They love the fact that America's economic engine has been unleashed. It wasn't at all what the folks over at MSNBS and CNN tried to paint it as being.
No question. We heard the narrative going in that this was going to be a disaster for the president. He'd get booed. People would boycott the speech. I just listened to the speech. It was just live. Mm-hmm. None of those things occurred. It was a really strong speech, and the president was very clear. It's America first, but it's not America alone. We have unleashed the economy. This president has done more for the United States economy than any president since Reagan. I mean, tax reform for the first time in 30 years. We've made our corporate tax rates now competitive with the rest of the world. And he was basically there to say we are open for business. However, and you've heard politicians for decades run through and say, oh, it's all about free and fair trade. Well, the free trade always comes.
Right.
It's the fairness that never comes. Donald Trump went into the lion's den and said, listen, not only are we for free trade, but I'm going to make sure it is fair. The currency manipulation is going to stop right now. And I don't know how they felt about it in their hearts, but he just told the world we're open for business and it's on our terms.
Yeah, the same thing. We did take some of the speech live, by the way, and I thought it was noteworthy on a couple of occasions. But the one that stuck out in my mind is that the president of the United States actually, as if he were teaching third graders, had to say, of course the American president is going to look out for the American people. We have to remember that under the previous administration, in my view, we had a decidedly anti-American administration who looked out for other countries' well-being and decided to put our well-being in the United States second or third on many occasions.
More so than that, he apologized for America being America,
Yep.
did Barack Obama.
Yep.
So this president went over there and said, not only are we not going to apologize, but it's obvious that the American president should put America first. And only in Washington, D.C. would that be a novelty. But he went over there to tell them, I'm the president of the United States, it's got to be first. But it's no different than you guys because you want your countries, you have to put the interests of your countries first. You know, you own companies. He met with several business leaders last night at dinner. They would put their business interests first over other businesses as well. I mean, it's just common sense. It's just for so long we've been taught to be, ashamed of who we are as Americans, the greatness of America. And this president comes in and just in 1 year has renewed that spirit and has taken that same message to the world, doesn't shrink in the face of other leaders to say, we are America, we're proud of what we are and who we are, we're open for business, but we're going to do that in a way that protects, and yes, while you want to invest in our country and you want to grow your businesses, we are focused on America's interests first. And that's really something that the theme was all throughout that speech.
White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley is our guest right now here on the Chris Salcedo Show. After this next question, I'm going to ask you to put on your broadcast journalism hat. And we have been big fans of the way the White House press shop has decided to push back on a decidedly biased press narrative. But let's ask about the president's DACA plan that he rolled out yesterday. A lot of folks on my side, as a Liberty Loving Latino, I am a staunch conservative. I don't believe, I believe the last 40 to 50 years has been a catastrophe with both political parties conspiring to thwart the American people on illegal immigration, basically looking the other way. And the destruction that has been wrought by the taxpayer, by the illegal immigrant community, and by the legal immigrant community is incalculable in my view. Here's what the president says. 1.8 million DACA recipients can get citizenship after 12 years if, and this is the big if there is a wall built, if you reduce this nonsensical chain migration down to the nuclear family only, and then an end to this pro-radical jihadist lottery system that results in American citizens having to dodge trucks trying to run them down in American streets. So let me ask you, the 1.8 million is where conservatives are focusing, saying, where do we go from 800,000 to 1.8 million?
I'll get there, but let me focus on one thing you mentioned as you were going into the last break. Ronald Reagan famously actually granted amnesty, literal amnesty. Mm-hmm. And thinking Republicans may benefit at the polls, and then received only 23-30% of the Latino vote after that. Point being, the promise was made for amnesty with border security on the back end. And as you so articulately put it, that never comes. The border security part, for whatever reason, never comes. This plan, right off the bat, puts that $25 billion of a border wall system in a trust fund, so it can't be tinkered with for future Congresses. They can't come in and go, we're going to eliminate it. Future presidents, we're going to eliminate it. It's secure in a trust fund. I think that's very important to say. As far as the 1.8 is concerned, there are around 690 estimated DACA people in this country. Other estimates say that there are, and those particular folks were responsible. They went and filed the paperwork and did what they had to do to be labeled under the DACA tag to receive DACA. And then there are an estimated, 690, 800,000 or so of that same number who didn't do that registration. Mm-hmm. So what the White House did was they looked at what could pass, they looked at what we wanted, and we said, look, here's the number we're going to come up with. And from what I understand, Democrats, for the most part, are flummoxed because they wanted this to be some, plan that was heartless, that said no to all DACA recipients and those types of things. And now they're scrambling because they don't know what to do. See, now they have to put their money where their mouth is, and they say they want to fix it.
Right.
Here's the lasting solution to the issue. You want to come to fix it? We gave you the plan. Now let's see what you got.
Right, because the Democrats were saying, "Oh, it's up to the White House and up to Republicans to come up with a plan." Well, here one is, but this is what I think the president has rather craftily done, and I know you probably can't admit it, but good policy does make good politics. He put out 1.8 million knowing the Democrat Party doesn't want to solve this issue. He could have put out 3.6 million people, and the Democrats would do their best. And you can see the extremist left-wing groups out there already saying that this is racist and all the stuff they typically do to kill any reform because they want illegal immigration to continue. The Democrat Party, courtesy of Jen Palmieri, has come out and said that they view their electoral future is going to be based on illegal immigration. And they don't want a solution. So the president could have offered them the world. They're not going to take it. They're going to kill it. Is there some of that political calculation going on?
Absolutely. I think you even said you didn't know if I'd be forthcoming in that. But look, I will always be. And let me tell you, the Graham-Durbin bill, for example, that came out that was so famously given to the president as a neat little package of everything he wanted, it offered nothing that he wanted. And it was a fraction. It was less than 0.1%. 1/10% of what the president wanted for border security, and it expanded chain migration, it expanded illegal immigration, it granted amnesty to around 8 million people in this country. You say, how is that number that big? Here's a dirty little secret. What Graham and Durbin wanted to do, and a lot of Democrats and liberal Republicans is that not only would it grant according to the Migration Policy Institute, there are about 3.25 million people here, DACA and Dreamers combined. Mm-hmm. It would have given amnesty to that population, plus 3-year visas to their parents. And once they're established here, then chain migration continued, which meant you're looking at upwards of 10 to 11 million people in the course of 2 years flooding into this country. That's what no one wants to talk about. What this president said was, there are people in the system. Here's the number. We'll give you that. But in exchange, we want all of our border security measures. We want to cut chain migration, which is one of the biggest drivers. As you know, 70% of all of our immigrants are here from chain migration. I mean, it's an enormous number. 9.3 million folks have come into this country in the last 10 years. That's more, actually, speaking of Dallas, that's more than Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Cleveland, and Dallas combined, their population.
Well, yeah, and there's no assistance on assimilation, so that's a problem culturally for the country. Look, I've only got a couple of more minutes, and I wanted to get look, a recommendation from the Chris Salcedo Show at Liberty Loving Latino here. If he would just actually tailor his plan, saying, once America gets the wall, end of chain migration, end of the lottery, that's when the clock starts on the 1.8 million, 12 years to get their citizenship. We want the security and the stuff first. We've learned from Ronald Reagan when he got screwed by a Congress that wasn't, and Bush too, by the way, 2006 Fence Act. We are very proud of what you and Sarah are doing in the press office here on the Chris Salcedo Show. As a guy who used to be in news, I have been appalled at the rank partisanship that is on display day in and day out in that White House press corps. The fawning press corps over Obama, and never the benefit of the doubt for President Trump. I want you guys to keep this up. Hasn't this been a cardinal sin of the press, that past GOP administrations have not been as, shall we say, stiff-spined as you guys are, and surrendered to the press's biased narrative?
No question. I actually, Sarah, it's funny you mention that, because when I started in politics, I actually worked in TV as well, but then I went to work for her father. When he was governor, I worked for Governor Huckabee, so I knew Sarah when she was a teenager. Mm-hmm. So she and I worked together for years, and I worked with most of the reporters in the press corps for about 15 years doing national campaigns and various things, so I've known them all. But to see what's occurred here, once this president got in office, and you mentioned the Fence Act from years ago, Democrats voted for border security, border wall 2006 and 2013. What's changed? Well, the system's gotten worse, and Donald Trump's in the White House. That's it. So for them to all of a sudden change course on that, and for the press not to ever call them out on their change in position, this president has come in and refuses to back down to a press corps that is 90% negative coverage against him. And of that 90%, as you know, most of it's palace intrigue. Yeah. They blow right past the first year of record-setting accomplishments in record-setting times, with judges moving the embassy to Israel, tax cuts, regulation rollback. ISIS is being destroyed. They never said GDP was going to be above 1.9%, 2%, quote-unquote, with the Obamas was the new norm. This president comes in, and we've had 2 quarters of consecutive 3+ GDP. Hopefully the news comes out this morning we have a third, and if that's the case, it'd be the first time in 11 years. In the face of all that negativity, this president has been able to accomplish so much, but the White House press would rather us focus on all of this palace intrigue nonsense, and this president refuses to do so. He got elected to be the voice for the forgotten men and women of this country who have largely been kicked in the teeth by Washington and political bureaucrats for the better part of 40 years, and he's doing it, and it's freaking people out. Yeah, no kidding. Well, yeah, it's the White House press corps. I mean, they don't know what to make of it. Republicans are supposed to lay down and take it. They're not used to a fighting person inside of the GOP who will not surrender to their narrative. By the way, Hogan Gidley, everybody, thank you very much. Deputy Press Secretary at the Trump White House. We have been angling on the Chris Salcedo Show for a Skype seat, so if you'd put in a good word for us, we'd appreciate it. I'll do that. Thank you so much. All right, Hogan, thank you very much. We appreciate the time here on the Salcedo Show. All right, that's going to do it for the Chris Salcedo Show worldwide for this evening on the VIDA Television Network. Weigh in anytime on the program on Twitter at Chris Salcedo TX. And you can leave voicemail or email at chrissalcedo.com. We'll see you next time for the Chris Salcedo Show worldwide here on the VIDA Television Network.